let's start now, and whoever joins in. Anyways, guys, welcome to Surviving One. Hopefully, after this session, you're a little bit more informed, if you're already not, on all the different ways that you should look at your character build, or you can utilize those stats to help you survive. Right? I'd like to introduce myself, but I think most of you am. So let's go on it. Okay. So what is this? This is a cake, right? So what are the ingredients you need when you make a cake? You have flour, you have sugar, you have eggs, you have butter, you have cocoa, or whatever else you like to put, bananas, vanilla, whatever, right? So you need all of these ingredients in balance to make a great tasting cake. So what happens if you only focus on too much sugar, right? Your cake will not taste good just because your other ingredients that are essential to make your cake tasty isn't there, right? Whether it's the texture, whether it's the just the taste, whether it's the fragrance or whatever. I'm not really good at cakes, but this is just an example, right? Why is this important? Because your character is the same thing, right? Your character is made out of a lot of different stats that helps you that matters in terms of PvP, right? You've got your PvP damage reduction, right? This 101 is going to be mainly focused on surviving, right? We're gonna do another one for DPS tomorrow, but today is mainly all about surviving, right? I'm pretty sure there's some DPS class players in here as well, and it's good for them to listen in because it is interrelated, right? How people survive is how DPS needs to build in order to kill those who are trying to survive, right? You got PvP damage reduction, you know, got PDEF and your physical defense and magical defense. You've got your physical damage reduction and magic damage reduction. You've got your size multipliers. You have your race multipliers. You have your elemental multipliers. You also have the more newer things such as the armor types as well as the class types. So armor types are like the cloth class, heavy, light, mail, and class is like mage, gunslinger, thief, merchant, you know, those kind of things, right? All of these multipliers matter because in a nutshell, your defensive multipliers will be compared to your opponent's offensive multipliers, and whichever is higher will result in either a damage reduction or a damage increase. Okay, so same thing with the cake, right? If you focus too much only on PvP damage reduction, you'll realize that you're not as tanky as someone who has less PvP damage reduction, but all their other quasi stats and special stats are better. Now, why isn't it that good, right? You see, there's a limit. There's a cap in terms of how much reduction you can get or damage increase you can get from the PvP stats, right? It starts off very high. The multiplier starts off very high at the start, up to the first 500. This is 17.5%, right? Up to the first 500. But after that, every 500 after that is only a slight increase. This is only a 22.5%, right? And every 500 only increases by 7.5. So ultimately, what does this mean? It means that if you cannot chase your reduction compared to your opponent's PvP damage, it's much better to just ignore it as a whole. For example, in the main battlefield, most DPS classes in the main battlefield already have 17 to 18,000 PvP damage reduction. So how much PV damage. So how much PvP reduction do I really need in order to make that stat matter, right? If this is 18,000, right? This 18k. So to even reduce it, to reduce the damage taken by a large margin, you will need at least 1750, right? That's the biggest jump. So this is unachievable. This is for a lot of people. This is very expensive as well. So in terms of the value, how much you need to spend or what you need to change for the reduction from the PvP damage stats is just not worth it, right? There's just so many other ingredients you can focus on that are essentially free or just need a little bit of time to change, or even it can just be a feather change, or it can just be an enchantment change, and you will notice that it will give you better returns than spending money trying to catch up. So for example, in the past 4 months, I've spent about 3,000 US dollars, and my PvP damage and reduction went up by 2,000. Okay, but I spent 30 minutes changing my feathers, and my PDEF went up by 2,000 with Xero basically spending nothing, right? So PvP damage stats are great, but at this point of the game, and for a lot of us especially, it's impossible for us to chase up. So this is one of the least important stats, I would say, especially for the main battlefield to even consider, right? Secondary battlefield, there's an argument for it. Why? Because most who play in the secondary battlefield are ranging around 12 to 13,000 PvP damage. Maybe there's some occasional ones that are 14,000 PvP damage bonus. So if you're already at 12,000 PvP reduction, you can find some additional reduction, additional damage mitigation coming from increasing your PvP damage. But ultimately, it's still not where you can get the most reduction without spending any money. So if you are those that have unlimited deep pockets or unlimited money, fine, just max your breakthrough feathers, right? That will just make you unkillable. But for a lot of us who are trying to get the best bang out of our buck, PvP damage reduction is not the way to go, right? So let's talk about the most basic stat out there, right? Physical defense and magical defense. Now, when you look at your character, you might be confused, right? You see your character, you see your PDEF at 16,000 or 15,000, be like, hey, that's great, right? Because everyone's ignore PDEF is 8,000. No, that's not this is not your exact PDEF. This is your final PDEF, but the ones that matter is your equipment, your raw equipment PDEF, right? So I believe a lot of you know how to calculate this already. But for those who don't, it's your equipment PDEF divided by your 1 plus. So you have to convert this number to a decimal point. So 39.84% in decimal is 0.3984, right? So 1 plus 3984, 1 plus 0.84 is 1.3984. Then you divide it, this divided by this. So for those who are online, do a quick calculation on your current PDEF, and you can see your exact raw PDEF, right? You can see exactly what it is. Okay, this screenshot was from like half a year ago, but currently it goes both ways, right? If you're playing against someone who knows, if you are fighting against a DPS who is building ignore PDEF, then you need higher PDEF. But if you're playing against someone who doesn't know how to play who's not building ignore PDEF, then your PDF will reduce by their damage by a lot. So I'm assuming most in our current Odin bracket or even in the future do knows these basics, because these are the most basic reduction stats already. So that's important. Oh, I think there's a limit, right? Thanks to our. Okay, for those who can't watch my stream, you can watch Duar's. It's just gonna be the same thing, but you can mute his stream so that there's no double audio. Okay, where was I? Alright, PDF, right? So currently, since I myself and most people, most guilds out there are focusing to have at least 8,000 ignore PDF on DPS classes, it means that your defense, your PDF as a support, as someone who's not supposed to die easily, needs to be higher than that. So that's why I always put it at higher, 500 higher than what most people should have their ignore PDF at. So if you look at this chart, you can see that the PDF reduction is it's not a linear increase in terms of the in terms of the reduction, but it is it gives you diminishing returns, right? So you don't need too much PDF. Like if you see 3,000 PDF difference, only give not only it gives you 77.77 decrease, but getting to even 5 to half of that, to half of 100, it's you only need 800, right? So anything above this is diminishing returns. Sure, the more you have, the better, of course, because you don't know how much ignore PDF your opponent has. Like for example, most DPS classes, they are running 8k to 8.5, right? So what's a good number for your PDF? It's gonna be 9,000, right? For DPS of the same tier, right? So if you're 1 million DP versus 1 million DP, then you need something that's higher. But in the main battlefield, you know, those whales already have 9k, 9.5k, some even at 10k. So does that mean that you should ignore PDF? Maybe, just because it's very hard to reach that point. It's the same logic as the PV damage reduction, right? Where if it's impossible to chase, you should not focus too much of your resources on towards chasing for that, and go for something else that is, you know, this is what I usually say, right? If you're failing your math, don't fail your English as well, because that just makes you really bad, right? If you fail your math, you know, focus on your history, focus on your geography, your chemistry, whatever, anything else. Just don't fail everything along with your math, right? Your math can be 0, but if your English is 100, your chemistry is 100, you have hope somewhere in the world. But if you fail everything, then you're just not gonna make it, all right? So a good benchmark, I think, for secondary, and of course the higher the better, is at least 8.5k on priest. This is like, I think, the bare minimum for priest. Performers without shields, they're gonna get less PDF just by the lack of shield, as well as the divine armament not being able to put PDF stats on it, right? DPS, yes, you, in terms of PDF and MDEF, you actually barely sacrifice anything to try and build this defensive stat. So that's why I expect DPS to have similar PDF as, if not better, right? My old account, before I sold it, it was at 8.5k PDF, right? And that was 8 months in with 0 top up, right? So building PDF is free, and this is why this stat should not be neglected, right? Where can you get PDF? There's a lot of different places you can get PDF, right? Enchantments are a big area to get it, from the faceware, mouth, armor, shield, garment, and costume. There's both PDF. There's either or both PDF and MDef lines, right? So what you want to look out for is just 3 lines of pdef, pdef, pdef. You don't want the skill, you don't want improve pdef level 8. This is the multiplier. It doesn't matter. You don't want this, right? You just want 3 lines of pdef or 3 lines of mdef, whichever you find lower, right? A lot of your pdef also comes from feathers, right? This is a tier 10 breakthrough night feather. It gives 84. This is a tier 10 soul feather. It gives 40. Right, so just from these 2 feathers alone, in one feather slot, in one statue, you already have, after the multiplier, this is more than 200 pdef already. Right, in your attack tier, I suggest you can put in Justice as your purple. It's better than Faith. You don't even need to really focus on breakthroughing it. It gives PvE damage bonus. It doesn't matter, but just the raw stats alone. This is 30 pdef. If you have 5. Plus the bonus, you almost have 200 pdef from this already. So all of this included, just the feathers alone, you're getting nearly 1300 pdef. Right, from the enchantment alone, if you get all of them pdef, that's nearly that was almost 600 pdef from all of this, from all the enchants. Right, other sources of pdef include your Nexus, right? So the 5 grid, you want to look for pdef and or mdef and some form of reduction, either range, melee, or magic damage, depending on what you feel you're most squishy with, and of course PvP damage reduction. But for the 1 grid and for the 2 grids, I do not suggest you to use pdef. Why? Because for this 1 grid and 2 grids, you get 150 pdef each, but you get 250 PvP reduction from this, right? So unless your pdef is at the absolute if it's at the absolute bare minimum, and if you have too much PvP damage reduction, then maybe you can consider using pdef on your 1 and 2 grid Nexus. If not, the PvP damage reduction there still gives you more value for those slots. Okay. Another place you can look for pdef is also the Libra, your Sacred Libra. I know it's expensive to first unlock to 100 and then start rolling for the perfect stats, but if you have the maxed, or if you have the extra resources, what you want to look out for in your defensive tier, which is every 2 tiers is a defensive tier, you want to look for flat, right? It's a flat number. You don't want a percent. You want pdef plus 9, plus 11, plus 24, right? That's the number you want. That's the flat pdef you want. So just from this Libra alone, you can get, if you get plus 10 on each, that's already 150. Right? Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add all of these up, when you add the ones from the feathers to your Nexus to the card decks as well, the green card deck, the lowest hanging fruit, everyone should already have this max. If not, look for these that give pdef. This one gives mdef, max those out, mdef plus 4, right? So these are the lowest hanging fruit, and you can easily achieve 8k pdef just by small tweaks, right? Card decks, look out for those that give pdef, mdef, as well as p damage and m damage reduction. Okay, and we segue into the p damage reduction and m damage reduction portion. Right, this is where I find a lot of people most lacking. Either it is so there's good question. Let's go back to pdef first, right? Why is percentage bad? Okay, percentage pdef percent the reduction that comes from pdef percent only matters if your pdef is higher than your opponent's ignore pdef. So if your raw pdef is below your opponent's ignore, then this will not reduce anything at all, right? This includes Angelus or Samsho. Any sort of buff that gives you pdef percent is completely ignored if your raw pdef is lower than your ignore pdef. So this is another reason why you want your raw pdef to be higher than your opponent's ignore pdef, so that your all the different sources for your pdef percent can be effective, right? When you get buffed by priest, most people will have 150 to 200% of pdef percent, right? This reduces around if my math is not wrong, you basically take away a 0. This reduces 15 to 20% damage, right? But if your raw pdef is lower than your opponent's ignore pdef, you completely lose this extra tier of damage reduction. So this is another huge reason why you want your raw pdef to be as high as possible. Okay. So I hope that answers Sakai's question. Okay, next we move on to the P damage reduction and M damage reduction portion. Now, we at CDG, we gather our stats, Mana gather their stats, Home gather their stats, and one thing I find hugely lacking on a lot of people, especially for support classes, is their P damage reduction and M damage reduction is very low, right? What do I mean very low? Is that it's, even for a lot of people, it's below 350%. Now for DPS, maybe 350% is enough, but for supports, if you don't even have 350%, that is a huge focus that you have to look out for right now, right? Why is this important? Why is this stat so important right now? Is because most, if not all of us, are basically neck and neck. We are racing against the enemy DPS's P damage and M damage. So I'll keep things simple. Let's just say P damage. I refer to both, but let's just say P damage for now. Now, most DPS classes right now, physical DPS classes, they are running 300% idle P damage, right? So if your P damage percent reduction, your P damage reduction is only 300%, that means you are basically even. Even is good, right? No, it's not good, because why? This 300 idle is not even considering their melee P damage or their range P damage, right? Most already have them at 100. So just this alone, they are already getting maximum value out of their P damage percent. Now, sure, you can argue, hey, I have a lot of things that proc when attacked or when I use skills. So sure, all of those come into take into account as well. But your attacker also has things that increase their P damage while they attack. So that's why a good benchmark, a good place to be in terms of a reduction is plus 100. Right? If most physical classes are running 300% idle, you want yours to be 400%. Right? On idle, so that when they are proccing their DPS stuff, you're proccing as well. So you're constantly keeping yourself ahead in terms of the in terms of the reduction. Now this reduction is capped at 90%. So if you have 500 and they have 400, you're not reducing the damage by 100%, you're only reducing the damage by 90%. Right? So M damage is a lot harder because the main magic DPS class right now, the sorcerers, they can reach 700% easily. Right? Easily. Like anyone who's using the correct equipment can reach 700% M damage easily. That's why most people tend to have a more lopsided stats. Their P damage and M damage reduction is not balanced just because they need more M damage compared to needing more P damage. Right? So this is what I think would be the benchmark, the minimum to have, right? To reach 400% P damage reduction should not be a problem, even as a free to play, just because a lot of the sources of P damage reduction comes from gacha costumes. Right? Like 90% of the best defensive costumes out there are redeemable from the gacha tickets. Right? So you can get those. I probably should have went to this slide before I went drawing all of that, but yeah, this one explains it as well, right? So why you want more is just because even with their maximum stack that they can get, with hazelnut, with carrot, with all of this, you are still getting maximum reduction and damage layer. The more, the better, of course, because having more P damage reduction means that you can fight against stronger opponents. So if you have 600%, suddenly Taskwalker doesn't hurt as much. If you have 500%, then Helder doesn't hurt as much. If you have 400%, everybody hurts just because it's too low, right? So, yeah, talking about the costumes that are achievable and very usable for all supports and even some DPS classes, the hazelnut lens on the face wear and a bite of carrot. Both of these, even though they give a little passive P damage and damage reduction, but their activation, they are basically almost 100% uptime, and this you're basically getting 78% reduction at all times. So if you have 400% plus this 78%, you're already at a good spot, right? And anything else adds a little bit more. You've got your mercy weapon for priest, you've got your sincere sound for your performers. If you have the season 2 T-site accessories already, that's another 30% when activated. If you don't, if you're using 2 runestones, that's another 20% reduction you can get from there. And you know, from your enchants, from all of the other things, there's just so many different sources. So speaking of sources, enchants, obviously, a lot of some of you might have transitioned from a DPS class or a DPS account, so your 3 enchants on these are very low. So I suggest to at least get them to level 6. If it's level 4 or 5, that is way too low at this point. Try to get them at least to 6 to 7. Obviously, the higher the better for this, but you know, Eden is limited, Omora is limited. All of these can come in time. Don't worry about that, right? But for the immediate effect, for the stuff that you can immediately get, it comes from your medals, right? This is 18%, I think, when max. This is 15%. Let me check, but it's a lot, right? If you came from a DPS class, your medals might not be. That is 21%, and frost is 15%. So 31% from your medals is 31% for both. This is from the mount equip. So this also ties back to the argument of PvP damage bonus, PvP damage reduction versus any other reduction stat. Right? So you see, mine is level 99. It only gives 200 reduction. Compared to a level 7 Phantom Shield, it gives almost, I think it gives 10% M damage reduction. So what is 200 out? What is a 200 increase from 14k PvP damage reduction? It's a 1.42% increase. So what is a 10% increase in PvP in M damage reduction from 300, right? What's a 10% increase, right? So a 10% increase is a 3.3% increase. So just by math alone, you will get more value from your M damage and
แล้วแต่กูบอกโทรบอกกูด้วยไม่เข้าอะไรนะเข้าโมงไม่ได้ก็เปิดไฟเลย
P damage reduction. Sorry.
พี่บอกไม่ได้เยอะเลย
Sorry. Okay. So what sources? Where can you get this? Right. Nexus as well. From your green Nexus, there's fervency, absolutely important. When this is max, this is 4% reduction. Salvation and protection as well. Both of them gives 3% and 3% each. So this is 4%, this is 6%, I think. So that's 10% reduction from the Nexus, 10% from your mount. You have your cards, easily farmable cards. These give 4% each. Garment cards. I know there's the suggestion to use the punk card. Punk card is great. It also gives you reduction, M damage reduction as well, so you can use that. I'll circle back to the best garment cards a little bit later, once we get deeper into the explanation. But in general, elemental resist cards are great for sub battlefield, but please do not use Raedric or Orc Baby cards. Those have been outdated for nearly 2 years already. There's Thorums are nearly non-existent. Everyone's converting their elements, so please, if you're still using Raedric, it's a good time to put it to rest. Alright, another place you can get free, cheap P damage, M damage reduction that you probably may not have noticed before is from your Soul Force. Right? Everybody uses one main Soul Force, right? Whether it's fire or water or earth or wind, whichever their party needs. But for everything else that you don't need, you can put in the earth or the water crystals. Now, if you see a level 10 orange water crystal gives 0.6% reduction. Right? Same thing with earth. Level 10 gives you 0.6. Level 9 gives you 0.6 already. So you can fill in all these other Soul Force with just water and earth, like I'm doing right now, and you can get nearly, depending on the level, 3 to 10% E damage and damage reduction just from changing these. Now, the purple ones aren't that great. They give max HP, but hey, better than nothing, right? Blue ones are even worse, but it's better than nothing. Right? You can opt to use the ones that give P attack and M attack just for more healing if you wish, but not before you fill up, not before you put in all these orange or red earth and water crystals, because these give a lot of reduction. Right? It's not about the high level souls, it's about the tiers. Orange tiers, all of the orange tiers crystals on the earth and water collection gives you P damage, M damage reduction. Right? The purple gives max HP, the yellow gives healing taken, which is not really that important. So if you already filled in everything that is yellow, you can, if you want to heal a little bit more, you can opt to put in the red, the wind or the fire ones, because those give P attack and M attack. Right? So another important place for P damage and damage reduction is also your card deck. Right? Minor protection max gives 5%. Minor brutality max gives 5%. So this is 5% that you can get. Heroism gives, when it's max, gives 5.5% M damage reduction. All of these cards are farmable. They're not too bad. Same thing with Major Prophecy. It's 5.5% P damage reduction. Okay, so another place that that I was surprised that a lot of people did not go focus on is the Sigil collection stats. Now, each sigil, most red sigils, when you collect them, you get damage or M damage or range reduction or any form of reduction, right? This is Nether Force. Collecting it alone gives you 3%. Furious Storm 3%. You know, you see all of these, they're 3%. And some are end damage, some are max HP, but max HP ones are not important. But you see Doom Sovereign 3% here. All of these are not that important. Holy Light Descending gives you 3% M damage, or Ultimate gives you 3%. Now, you might be thinking, I'm saving my red sigil boxes to level my Fearless, to level my Dawnbreaker, or anything else you want to do with them. But you have to remember, Fearless and Dawnbreaker, you need them to be level 30 to be usable, to be able to replace them with any of the orange sigils. Right? If it's not level 30, the Dawnbreaker, the Fearless is weaker than Courage Blessing Max. Right? So instead of hoarding those resources and not being able to get any immediate effect out of them, consider opening them to unlock all of these stats. Right? Just this red sigil passive alone, this is 21% P damage reduction that you're missing out by keeping them and to slowly improve to get your Fearless to level 2. Right? You need 17 red sigil boxes to get to level 15 red sigil. You need 28 to get to level 2. So that's 45 sigil boxes you need to get to tier 30. Right? Multiply that by the events that give them free, maybe once every month. You need 45 months to get them for free without spending. So just unlock those sigils, please. Right? If you don't have them unlocked, and you know, obviously if you already unlocked them all the important ones, you know, definitely feel free to save them up. But if you are far away and you are in no condition to spend to boost that up, I do suggest just to unlock unlock those I was talking. Right. Next multiplier, very important as well. I would say, like the example I gave with the cake, every single one of these multipliers are important because you can't just focus on one and give up the other. Oh, right. Okay. Thanks for reminding. Job sigils have a lot of stats here as well. If you click on all of these job sigils, sure, some of it gives P attack or M attack. That's not very important. But look at this. 2% M damage reduction. 2% M damage reduction. 2% M damage reduction. 2% M damage reduction. Why aren't you unlocking all of these to at least level 1 for free? This is nearly 40% M damage and P damage reduction you can get just from the job sigils. This is free. Right? Range P damage as well. Very hard to get these. Right? And if you're looking at my screen, you're asking, why do I have a lot of sigils level to level 11? It's because of the collection. Right? For each 10 levels after level 6 of the sigil collection, it gives 1% demi-human reduction. Right? So 6, 16, 26, 36, 46, and 56. There's no 56. But yeah, this is a lot. This is 4% demi-human reduction you can get. Sorry, 5% demi-human reduction you can get just from the spare job sigil boxes that you get every single week. Right? Some of you might ask, hey, why not unlock it for this PvP damage reduction? Do you know how much boxes you need to get one level of this? You need 100 boxes to get +1 PvP reduction. Right? 100 boxes to get +1 PvP reduction. You need 15 boxes to get this to level 11. So 6 of these is usually enough to push you up the next collection tier, especially if you're low level. So please, if you have extra job sigils, if you're not a priest or a Doram who usually likes to build 2 of these, who usually likes to level 36 2 different job sigils, then get all of these job sigils to level 11. That is a lot of reduction you can get from the collection. Okay. Now, size and race, very important stat as well, which is straightforward in a way, but also very complicated. Okay. Essentially, most of the quasi stats and special stats, how they're calculated in terms of the damage is the same. It's always enemies versus yours, right? And it's nearly always capped at 90%. So most of you probably have 100 right now, right? 100 of each, 100 size, 100 race. Some of you might have lower size because size is harder to build, right? You need the doppelganger mouthwear cards. You need the rhythm of one of the costume cards that give size reduction, and a lot of it is tied with costumes, right? But most of you should be at 90 to 100 medium and more than 100 race, right? And so the question right now is, which one do you focus on, right? Which one should, because it's impossible to get both up at a high level, because a lot of the places where you can get size or race reduction comes from the same slots, right? It's the costume slot, it's the backwear, it's the facewear, it's the headgear. They all come from the same. So you can only really focus on one, or you can balance them. Now, when you take into that consideration, I can tell you straight away, once you reach 100 on both, it is better to stack on one side. So either it is on demi-human or on medium. It depends on what you have available and who you're facing. So a quick mathematical example, lots of math, you don't have to read through this. You can read if you want. I converted all the percentage to decimals, so it's easier for you to so make sure you keep that in mind. But taking these stats into consideration, this is being attacked, the top being attackers, the bottom being the defender stats. You can see here, me balancing both, reduction, both of them are balanced. I am reducing the damage by 39.24%. Right? Now, if I flip this, right? Imagine this is flipped, right? Imagine now the defender's demi-human is lower and the attacker's demi-human is higher. Now, after the calculations, he's taking more damage because he's losing out in these stats. But now, imagine this is also 121, right? This is also 121. So there's zero difference between the attacker's demi-human damage, and the defender's demi-human reduction. But I increase this linearly by 25%. Right? So this is a simulation of if I focus on one side. If I focus all of my reduction on demi-human, suddenly I'm reducing more damage. I'm reducing more damage than I would have if I spread things out evenly. This is even. I'm reducing by 39%. I stack the stats on towards the other side. I'm reducing by 57.5%. Now that goes all the way to 90%. Tapped at 90%. Now you might be asking, which is better to stack? Right? Which is more achievable? Which gives me better returns? I would say the medium is easier. Sorry, let me rephrase. Demi-human is easier to get to a high amount just because most of the things are achievable by free-to-play and also farmable, like things like double Tara Frog, things like the polar bear hat, different armors you can use that gives demi-human reduction, but which is great for secondary battlefield, right? But in the main battlefield, 99% of all the DPS is using this fucked up costume. Right, this costume is fucked up because it allows the DPS to reach 200% demi-human damage. Right? They reach 200% demi-human damage from this fucking costume and the facewear combo, whatever. Right? So if it's possible, if you're playing in main, try and increase your medium reduction. It's not the sources for medium reduction is not easy to get, right? The card is the turfing. Yeah, the turfing card, which is a mini card. Good luck getting 8 of these. Want to run double turfing. There's still some costumes that reduce medium, but they are harder to get. And so ultimately, you the best thing I can say, focus on stacking on one. Right? Even the Malfoy card for medium reduction is Nyan capped, right? It's the doppelganger puppet card. It's cost 16k to max. If you use 2 of them, that's 32k Nyans for 22% medium reduction. Right? So medium reduction is if you have a bit more funds to spare. Demi-human is for if you do not wish to be eating Pansing Canton for the next 2 months. Right? So there's the question of the maraschino berry or whatever it's called, maraschino cherry versus the milky jelly, right? Which one should you use? So same thing, it goes back to this. Choose one to fully focus. If your demi-human is higher, eat maraschino. If your medium is higher, eat the jelly. Right? It's the same concept. It goes back to the same thing. Right? So where else you can get demi-human reduction? This card is absolutely kind of free, but not really free. You need 8 of the purple, I think what is it called? Chaos card fragment. Get to level 10. 2 of this gives you level 7% demi-human reduction for a total of 16 of the card fragments. Right? So if you're using Angeling card, if you're still using Angeling card at this point, please consider getting these. These are very not hard to get. Even if you buy them 1 a week, you can get 1 in 8 weeks. Perfect time for Odin. If you have more, definitely look to get at least 2 of these for 7% demi-human reduction. Right? Polar Bear Hat, when after your PvP ward breaks, you get another 25% reduction. Great. More reduction. Mighty Guardian, that's the new card in Kapun. It's kind of like a budget turfing, but for 18% size reduction, I don't think it's worth losing the Divine Armament Shield just because it's only 18%. Right? Because when you lose the Divine Armament Shield, you're not only losing the like Valkyrie, Valk shield or any other shield. You're also losing the enchantments you can put on the shield, which is PDEF, which is HP, bunch of things. Right? Of course, Starfrog, everyone should already have this max. If not, please spend some time in underwater dungeon first floor. They are not hard to farm, not hard to max. Same thing with the mount equip. Medium reduction is what you want to look for. I forgot what this is. This is the bunny, I think. Some people have this, some people might not. If you do, you can consider using this. If you don't, it's completely fine. You can use Plum or the Ronopoly backware. There's no third best. Swan, yes, sorry, there. Swan, thank you, Heather. Swan is better. Swan is great in a way that it's gacha, and it also gives you 8% demi reduction, I believe. And it has pretty good uptime as well. So if you don't have Plum or this bunny, the third best is Swan. And of course, the 2 statues. This is medium. This is demi-human. Right? So this is almost the end already. Right? So why all of these stats matter and why it boils down, and why some people can survive 10 seconds against Taskwalker while some people die in 2 hits. A lot of it comes with just the lack of quasi stats, as well as not using this combination of things very well. Now, some of you might have already realized that when you are full HP, and when you have PvP ward, you tend to die slower or take less damage. The moment your PvP ward breaks, you're dead. Right? It's because of the Lepus. It's because of this Nebula's effect. Right? When your PvP ward is active, it gives you 50% P damage and N damage reduction. Now, all things must come to an end, even your PvP ward. So when it breaks, Canis Major gives you temporary more reduction for 60%. But when you pair these two up with Divine Vessel and Muscle Block, so let's read what Muscle Block does. Muscle Block reduces damage taken by 15% when your HP is above 80%. So at the start of battle, your HP is always 100%. So when you have Muscle Block, you are reducing the damage done to your PvP ward by 15%, which allows your PvP ward to last longer. Right, following me so far? So once your PvP ward breaks, it activates Canis Major. And it also activates Divine Vessel at the same time because you are taking damage. So you get 60% reduction for 3 seconds. You get 30% reduction for another 3 seconds. For 3 seconds, and it also restores PvP ward. So this, once your Lepus breaks, it activates Canis Major. It activates Divine Vessel, which in turn reactivates Lepus. So suddenly, for that 3 seconds, you have a grand total of nearly 200% P damage and damage reduction the moment your ward breaks. Right? And because Divine Vessel is healing you, bam, your Muscle Block comes into play. This is why Chaps is surviving Taskwalker for 12 seconds. It's because PvP ward is up. PvP ward breaks, activates Canis Major, activates Divine Vessel. Divine Vessel reactivates Lepus, activates Muscle Block again. And once everything is off cooldown, he dies. But if you can last 10 seconds against someone like Taskwalker, that's enough. We're not looking to survive Raven, Bipolar, Dragon, anyone else, right? It's impossible to survive them. They've spent a lot more money than us in this game. But if we cannot be one hit, if they're spending 8 seconds to kill us, it means that they are not hitting someone else for 8 seconds, right? By the time they kill you and they switch to the next target, they'll take another 8 seconds to kill them. And calculate how much time he needs to get 10 kills. That's nearly 80 seconds. He takes a full minute and a half to get 10 kills instead of just one tapping everybody. Yes, there's a lot of AoE, there's a lot of mutant dragons going around, but the goal is, especially for all us supports, to survive as long as possible, because a dead DPS deals no DPS, but a dead support does absolutely fuck all. Right? So I hope you guys were looking at your characters while going through all this. Identify what is missing, what you can further improve on in your character, and make those changes, right? Helder, I'm pretty sure a lot of you went through Helder's test. From the few that I've observed, it's been a little bit lackluster, and when I look at the stats afterwards, I can see why that you're not surviving as long as you need to, right? Helder is less than 400k rebate, but if he's killing you in less than 10 seconds, that's a problem, right? He's not that good of a player, but yeah, like he shouldn't be the benchmark, right? You should be. Sorry, let me rephrase that. If you find that Helder's damage is killing you too fast, relook at all these different things that you can improve in your character and ask him to try again. He's more than happy to retest all 50 of you one more time. He told me that in private. I know he said it in public that he's tired, but he's more than happy to see the improvement from all of you. Alright? So, this session was mainly focused on surviving, but DPS classes can also take these into account as well, because like I said 1 minute ago, a dead DPS deals no DPS. So if you're dying in one hit, that means you're not contributing anything at all, right? So DPS, that doing damage is great, killing people is great, but if you're dying once per person you kill, you are essentially a net zero. If you're getting one kill but dying right after, you are net zero. You're not positive to your entire guild. If you're dying more, then you are just a negative to your party, to your guild, to whatever, right? So now this entire session, not a single part has been about spending money, not about gacha, not about upgrading feathers, nothing. It's all things that you probably already have and you just need to tweak around. Sure, some might take some luck, some might take some time, but eventually once you start seeing the difference, then it is just time worth spending. Okay, I know it might have been a lot for some of you. So I'll open up the floor for questions. If you have any questions at all, you can type it in the voice channel. You can type it in game. Let me open up the game. Or you can type it, you can speak out if you want. Right? I don't think there's any stupid questions. It's all for everyone's benefit. So don't feel shy. Don't be afraid. Ultimately, we want everyone to be able to be an important part in our Odin run. Right? It's not only about the main battlefield. Refine PDF. That is such a pain to explain. But you click on your refine PDF and your refine MDef, you can see that refinement already reduces damage, right? This is pretty straightforward, I think. The more refinement you have, the more reduction you get. It diminishes eventually. I'm pretty sure most of you are already at full plus 18. Some of you are working on your relics, so that's great. If you can get your relics to max, then you get additional reduction. Right. For the water for Soulforce, you would be using one, whichever you are comfortable using, right? Whether it's water, wind, fire, earth, whichever you're not using, put in the defensive ones. Put in the orange crystals, right? On whichever statue, whichever Soulforce you're not using. You can see my fire is filled with earth and water. My earth is filled with earth and water. My wind is filled with earth and water. Just more reduction. Right. It's the job sigils. Right. Get them all to level 11. Increase your collection. You can stop at 46 eventually, but you know, every 10 levels is that sweet 1% demi-human reduction. There's some PDF and MDef found here as well. Now let's talk about crit res. Let's talk about crit res. Why is crit res not helpful at the moment? Alright. Rangers are lull. What rangers? And gunslingers have over 500 critical. They have over 500. When at their full stacks, this is 500. Can you reach 500 crit res? No, it's impossible. So don't bother about crit res. Sorry, crit res. Don't bother about crit res. Against Shadow Chasers, if you can reach, I think it was 250%, it's maybe worth it. But ultimately, the places where you can, let me leave party. The places where you can get crit rest is also the places where you get the P damage and M damage reduction. Right, so might as well use the P damage and M damage. So crit rest, crit damage resistance percent on the other hand, this is a good thing. This is kind of like P damage reduction as well, but it only works against crit classes, which is gunslingers, shadow chasers, RKs, GX, and ranger. Right? This has the same relationship with crit damage as M damage reduction has the relationship with M damage percent. The same relationship on all these stats. That's why they put them on the same line, so it's easier for you to see. Okay. I don't think I missed. Right. Oh, thanks. This potion is very good as well. Yep, advanced defense potion. For non-DPS classes, you're sacrificing something completely useless for 20% P damage and damage reduction. So free, not really free, but you can make them, or you can beg someone to send them to you. Same thing with crack boost, right? You're reducing sorcerers for more damage against the 1 arcane sub. For the 2 arcanes. So crack boost and advanced defense potion is great to use. Right. Okay. Elemental reduction. You guys notice how I skipped through that? Elemental reduction has a similar relationship. Basically the same thing, resistance versus skill damage. It has the same relationship as P damage and damage. Basically the same thing, right? But in most main battlefield whales, they're all using cosmic. They're all using max cosmic because it's the best, one of the 2 best offensive sigils right now, right? And if you read what max cosmic does, it ignores your elemental resistance, right? Which brings me back to the best Garmin card in main battlefield. It's not Mars, it's not Jack, it's not Pollux, it's not whatever card you can think of. It's this cute little fucking monkey that when max allows you to avoid damage by 5%. Right? So a max Jack card reduces damage by fire damage by 20%, but only fire damage. If it's neutral, it reduces nothing. If they're using cosmic, it reduces nothing. But Choco reduces everything by technically 5%. It has a 5% chance to avoid damage. So in mathematical terms, in probability terms, it's reducing damage by 5%. Now, if you max 2 Chocos, you're reducing all damage by 10%, which is way better than Antonio, way better than Pollux. If you're fighting someone with Cosmic, it's way better than almost every single Garmin card out there. Even Double Jack, if the opponent switches his element to water, you're reducing 0 damage. So Choco card is the best catch-all Garmin card. Unfortunately, it's not easy to get. Can trade them from Union. Start assisting people in Ton. Every week you can get 1 Choco card. sorry, every 2 weeks you can get 1 choco card. You can also exchange for them in the card shop for 20 of the precious card fragments. Then that's the only 2 ways to get it, really. Okay, set recommendations for yellow and green nexus. So I guess the best catch all, right? It's impossible to reduce everything at once. It's just impossible, right? So what I personally do, because I have a little bit more resources, is that I prepare 2 different sets, right? I have the one I'm currently using, which is what I use against a guild with a lot of sorcerers, which is M-Def and M-Damage reduction, and melee P-Damage reduction splashed in there for the random Shadow Chasers. I also have another set prepared that is P-Def focused, right? More P-Def focused. This one specifically against genetics. I still have P-Def there, I still have M-Def there, I have P-Damage reduction. This one is, if I want to switch back to P-Def, I still have my M-Damage reduction here, I have my P-Damage reduction here. And this one is against, I have my P-Def, my M-Def, my crit damage resistance against Shadow Chasers or Gunslingers, and my PvP damage reduction. Now, my yellow nexus is not complete yet. I'm still missing the 2 I was talking about, the protection and salvation. So I'm missing 6% P damage and M damage protection, P damage and M damage reduction from my yellow nexus. Now this set is probably the best for supports who doesn't really need to care about the red offense, right? For DPS, this is what you want. For your green, do not use the 5 grid greens. Why? It's because you are either taking away resources from upgrading your other 5 grids, or you will be increasing them linearly, so they will be maybe level 6, level 7 right now. But a level 6 or 7 green nexus gives very little PvP ward. Now for supports, please use the 5 grid greens, and what you want to look out for is max PvP ward recovery, max HP, and PvP ward recovery percent. Right, those are the 4 perfect ones. If you have 3 out of 4, as long as you have max PvP ward and 1 of the PvP ward recoveries, I think it's usable for now. If you have more, the better. The skills don't really matter for the green nexus. If you notice, I'm not using HP percent or whatever, because shit, 6% max HP, right? Unless you're Cookie and you're running some crazy 500% max HP build, this doesn't matter. So if you take a look at my green nexus, what I'm focusing on is good skills, right? Gallantry, fervency, the most important one. I have fervency, it's the reduction. I have gallantry. When I take damage, I heal. I have what else? At mercy, when I cast a support skill, I heal. And what? I have a Sacred Heart because it came with the fervency, so I just kept it. I have Ardency, which gives me more healing when I'm being controlled. So yeah, like it for the green nexus, the master skills are probably the least important ones because they are really just not very important, right? And if you're a support, you can consider getting one of these. Sorry, not lucidity. Duplicity. Since the red nexus slot is useless anyways, you can use this to provide to reduce the enemy's PDEF for your team when you use a movement skill. So for genetic, you have your card jump. For wanderers, you have your sliding skill thing. For yeah, you're a lab accident helder. For priest, you have your leap of faith, so you are able to help your teammates debuff them a little bit. Okay, for divine armament stats, what stats are we looking for? For let's go line, right? Weapon doesn't matter really for supports. For your shield, you want P damage, M damage reduction. There's no range here. If you get melee P damage reduction, that's fine, but this only works against Shadow Chasers and RKs. But these two are probably the most important. If you get max HP, it's great. Make sure it's the percentage one. If you get PDEF or MDEF, it's great. I don't go for MDEF on the shield because it's just it's very little. I rather get 9% HP than 39 MDEF from the shield. Right, that's the shield. So you see PDEF, damage, melee P damage. Armor, same thing. PDEF and MDEF. This is finally a place where there's a lot of MDEF. Max HP as well. And PvP damage reduction. Right? Guys, get rid of this. This is 2023. You don't need this anymore. Okay. Same thing with the garment. PDEF, MDEF, PvP reduction, and max HP. Here. And shoes, because I'm using a stun resist build, because I'm too poor to afford an AUG hero card, I'm using stun resist along with these two plus max plus PDEF. Right? If you have MDEF, it's fine. If you have max HP, it's fine. If you have range speed damage, it's fine. Some people like move speed. I think move speed is completely fine as well. Especially for priests who can just continue running. So yeah, a lot of good stats. You just don't want things like max HP, HP recovery, and all of this if you're not running a resist boost build. Right? Everything else, there's always an argument that they are good one way or another. Right? Okay. Guild skill, good. Good. As you can see here, PvP damage reduction, I've increased it myself. Why? Because my PvP stats is I am close enough to the 18Ks that I get reduction if I increase it. So that's why I put it in here. If you are playing in main and it's too far, or if you're playing in sub and you are already at 14K, you can consider getting PDEF. If your PDEF is low, if your PDEF is high, you can get the PvP damage reduction. Ultimately, there is no answer that is correct for everyone. You will have to check your stats and you can decide which way to go. Right? For the other guild skills, please max these three first before anything else. They need to be 209 or 210. 209, why? Because I'm out of the coins, so I keep them at 209. But the 209 to 210 jump is actually pretty decent. So 149 to 150 was basically no upgrade. 209 to 210 is a pretty significant increase. So you want to push it to 210. Right? Before you even touch these three, max these first. Now let me explain why. Simple enough, right? Resources wise, for these resources, you are, as a support, you are only using half of the stats. You're not using the half of the stat. You're not using the damage bonus at all. Same thing with the size, you're only getting half of it. Same thing with the fatality bulwark, you're only using the bulwark. So using your resources to increase, to focus on the master effects early will give you less reduction than if you would just to max these. These are much cheaper to max. That's why even if you see me as a DPS, I max these out before I even touch the damage. Right? Again, a dead DPS deals no DPS. If you're dying, you're not contributing anything, whether you're a DPS or a priest. Right? So before these are maxed out, do not even consider increasing any of these three. PvP War Recovery, it's fine to go for it. Why? Because it is the same resource as our poor RK reduction, and there is a grand total of 1 RK above 1.1 MDP in the total of 10 servers. Right, so unless we are facing him, he is not even in Islud, you won't need this. Right? Can even reset both of these if you need the coins, upgrade your max PvP ward, and increase. Now, some of you might be asking, why do I have lower E damage and M damage reduction? Right? Some of you might be using Illusional Cage. Right? This one gives you this 30% reduction at a 75% uptime. The problem with using this is that to engage this again after the cooldown, I'm not sure if they fixed it already or not, you need to sit. You need to exit combat. So that's either with Smoky Card or actually sitting down, like manually pressing the sit button to exit combat. Okay. So it's a pretty hard thing to use. Like, you literally need to have a shield when you have a yellow shield. How do I proc it? Proc yellow shield. So once you have a yellow shield and you sit down, it actually counts as you being out of combat. So the Illusional Cage is very mechanically annoying to constantly trigger. Oh, they fixed it already? Yeah. So yeah, like this one was from Pouring Chest. It's really not as great as the... This is just too good, too much good things in one. Face wear. Hazelnut gives you really good reduction, right? At the cost of bit, of course. This is, you need 400 vid, get maximum value. You are afraid of genetics and you don't run that much vid, then the next best one is the Laurel. Good reduction. When your HP is low, you get more reduction, and heals as well. Keeps you alive from your within range of dying, and then you can heal from other parts as well. Mouthwear is a bite of carrot. Right. It's 40% reduction at a 60% uptime. Very good uptime. It only procs when you take damage, so you get the full effect of it. If you are alive after 6 seconds, chances are you're not dying. Right? If someone is hitting you for 6 seconds and you're not dying after this expires. More or less. as a support, right? If someone is hitting you for 6 seconds and you're not dying and you're not moving away, that means you're just AFK. Right? So this is like those 3 are all gacha arts, very easily redeemable. The costume we're talking about, the swan, is great reduction, 8% reduction, and also 15% all size reduction at a 60% uptime. Really good uptime. If you don't have the swan, the plum is fine. Plum is also great reduction, great size reduction as well. Same thing, 20% size reduction, no cooldown, no downtime. And also you heal. Act. Good. If you don't have either of this and you somehow have the ding dong this one, this gives you 20% P damage reduction and M damage max stacks. Once it's maxed out, you convert those stacks to 25% all size reduction and restores your HP, and you get another 15% at 100% uptime. Crazy, a lot of reduction from this along with size reduction. Nightingale. Now I'm using Vidar's Heal. If the damage I take exceeds 30% damage, just to help me survive against genetics or any whales, just for a little bit. Right, ultimately, again, we're not looking to survive a full minute with the whale, with someone hitting us. We're looking to survive long enough that we can reposition and back off and heal, or get to our teammates, or get to the next objective. So surviving forever is not important. Surviving for 5 seconds is all I'm looking for. If I can survive 5 seconds against Taskwalker, I am more than happy. Like, he just spent 5 seconds hitting me, I didn't die, I was able to jump away, I was able to buff my teammates before I died. That's enough. Right, the resonance level, you increase it by leveling like me. The level 3 resonance requires 3 divinities to level 10. That's why I have 3 of them at level 10. If I have 3 of them at level 12, I get another 0.5% max HP and other stuff. Ultimately, not very important, but still a little bit. This one comes from this. There's 2 upgrades, right? The top resonance comes from the right upgrade. The bottom resonance comes from the left upgrade, and it needs the Ancient Starlight. Get them from events, you can redeem them. So what I use is there's probably two good ways to go about your Nightingale, right? One, either the 4 set you want the 4 set Crest of Melody. You want the 4 set Crest of Melody, or 2 set Crest of Melody and 2 set Rebellion Banner. Or you can also go for the 4 set Seraphic Halo. Now, the Seraphic Halo is more of an offensive buff to give to your teammates, but for self-survivability, I would either go 2 or 4 of this, right? So when you have the Crest of Melody, you can maintain 2 to 3 shelter stacks at all times when you take damage. So that is by itself 4 to 6% medium reduction from this already. Right, as you can see, I'm 1 more away. Getting there. Yeah, gingerbread is really good. Fortunately, I don't have that. Gingerbread is the backware from Monopoly. So if you have this, this is probably the best. Next best would be plum. Second best would be plum. Third best would be swan. Now, swan is better against genetics. Plum is better against sorcerers, right? But ultimately, because in a guild league there's just so many different sources of damage, if either or is fine, right? Either or is fine. Handle it phantom. 5% all size reduction. One taking damage. This is good against genetics, like really, really good against genetics, because your maximum reduction comes from the first hit. Now, as you get hit more, then it's reduced. It's in Guild League, especially in sub or main, there's just so many damage coming from left, right, and center that this 10 stacks gone in a second most of the time. I would rather have those 10 hits potentially healing me than to make me softer every time I'm hit. That's where the Sea Otter comes in. That's where the Plum is good. Right, as cards. I realized we skipped through the right. Armor cards. If your party doesn't have a good genetic or a reliable genetic, or if you don't trust a genetic, please use a Cornotus card. Either Cornotus or normal Cornotus is fine. If they are reliable, if they're not Helder, then you can consider using things like Antonio, things like Dokebi if you want to use the nature deck, things like the Swordfish if you want to use the nature deck. So those are something. Those maxed Antonio is decent. Again, if you're stacking demi-human reduction, this maxed is 6%, I believe. So if you're stacking demi-human reduction, the Antonio card is worth to upgrade. Ghost Ring, please dismantle it. Use the purple fragments to upgrade your Antonio card. Along with your Raydric cards, use all of them, dismantle your 2 max Raydric cards, and upgrade your Antonio card. Right, there's virtually no Dorams. There are still some Impale users who do not convert their element. There's some Impale users who don't know they can convert their element. Soulmark as well. Some people still don't know they can convert them. Some people decide to go for neutral because they think that most people don't have neutral resist anyways. And those are the only people you counter. But everything else is element. Genetic is half fire. Sorcerer is all 4 elements. Warlock is all 4 elements. Shadow Chaser is shadow. You can even Batori card, I would say, is better than using a fucking Ghost Ring at this point. Right? So please collect your Ghost Ring, dismantle your Ghost Ring, your Raydrix, put them in your card deck, whatever. I don't care. I don't want to see anyone wearing those. Right? There's just so many people that we had to advise switching out these 3 cards. Maxed out Ghost Ring, 2 max Raydrix, and basically they're wearing no armor card and no garment card. No, Ghost Ring. So Tantan is thinking about classic RO, right? A level 4 ghost element reduces all elements by 30%. But even in classic RO, in level, all your armor cards only give you level 1 armor, and level 1 armor doesn't reduce all the other elements. Right? Hockey is he was a shadow chaser. Maybe his soul mark or his impale was neutral, and it didn't get that's the minus 30% that he sees. Right. Garment card, like I said, Choco. If you don't have Choco, you can use. I have too many punks. Why have I been buying punk cards? Fine. Jack, Mars, Dustinus. Hold is almost useless except against Helder, who likes using Hold Earth Element because he wants to counter Dokebi users. Alligator is great if you're only facing genetics. Where's my alligator? Yeah, alligator is great if you're only facing genetics and Night Watch. So in sub, if it's only genetics and Night Watch, you can actually get the most value out of alligator card because everything else can't hit you. The sorcerers are lagging, the shadow chasers are dying, the rangers are doing PvE. So everything else is Doram, Night Watch, or genetic. So alligator is great for sub. Right. Shoe card. Time Guardian, if you guys don't know, is great. It's a great shoe card. Curse reduces the enemy's damage dealt by 15 or 20% already. It also slows them down, which annoys the fuck out of them. It reduces their luck, their base luck from 99 to 0, which may or may not affect them. Usually it doesn't, but it's not important. It buys you time to run, right? Another good card is the Megalith card. If you're lacking in M damage reduction, maxing a Megalith card gives you 9% M damage reduction. So if you have 2 max Megalith cards, that's 18% M damage reduction you can get from your shoes. Right? What else is good shoe card? A lot of you are using the Abyss Demon, which is fine, I guess, as long as you have it upgraded. If it's level 1, I do not suggest to use the Abyss Demon for a 1% chance to accidentally kill somebody. It's better to keep yourself alive, right? So Megalith, Time Guardian, and if you have nothing better, use fucking Thief Bug Mail. Right? Thief Bug Mail gives 3% P and M damage reduction. If you use 2, that's 6%. Green card, basically free. You can use that if you don't have anything better. I use Alarm because I forgot why I use Alarm. Yeah, I forgot why I used Alarm. There was a reason. Sorry?
It was best in slot like last year. Alarm.
When there was a lot of Shadow Chasers, yes. Like the side rusher was good, yeah. But I will probably change this to... Let's go against Dorams as well if they still exist.
Maybe because of the knockback.
Yeah, knockback is okay. It's good in main. If you stand at the edge of the tablet, someone hits you, you knock everyone back. You buy like 2 seconds. But it's okay. I already maxed it, so fuck it. Accessory cards. Max Osiris is really good because it gives a lot of reduction. I am 1 more card away from maxing this. Pouring is great because it's 6%, 3% reduction on each. So if you don't have anything better, you can just use 4 pourings. If you have a max Osiris card, you can use 1 Osiris and 3 pourings. If you want to use Sea Otter, then you can switch 1 out for Sea Otter and use 2 pourings. If you have enough reduction that a pouring barely gives you any upgrades, you can use the more Sea Otters, right? Other good accessory cards include if you have SP issues, the Demonic Eggy can buy you a little bit of leeway to cast skills. not really great, but I have this on standby just in case. If you want to help your teammates lock somebody down, you can use your body, or even if you are a performer, you can charge attack into the middle of a lot of people and then use your bewitch. Mimi, yes. Does it work? Maybe. Do I use it? No, but I don't know, just some fun things for you guys to consider. Yeah, nothing else is great. Explosion is shoe card, so that's yeah, hit gear cards, you know, either Marduk, Gear, or Deviruchi. If you don't have anything, please max these. These are 4% reduction each. If you have Orc Hero, of course use the Orc Hero, but if you don't, like me, you can prepare all three and find whichever is most annoying. You might not find the blind annoying, you can use the silence. Right? I find the silence least annoying, so I don't use the silence. Right? Face wear. Azure earrings is the best because it gives you P damage and damage reduction. I'm still building that because I was a DPS before that. You don't have the Azure earrings. The next best is this rose ornament because it gives 1% P damage reduction. Again, not a lot, but they all add up. 2% from here, 2% from there. Suddenly you're looking at 20% missing. Right? Other faceware cards are completely useless, so these are the two faceware cards that whichever you can get and use. Mouthwear, talking about it earlier, doppelganger. If you don't have the doppelganger, you use the. If you're stacking demi-human, you use doppelganger. If you're stacking, medium, you use doppelganger. If you're stacking demi-human, you can use the baby pacifier. Alright, and for the costume, backwear. Costume, I use the rhythm of music just because I probably should use the baffle for now, but honestly the baffle only gives a 100. I'd rather have, again, more demi-human reduction. Right, I'm looking to max both of these. This is a total of 10% demi-human reduction once I max these, so that's more reduction you can get from your armor card. If you don't have the, honestly, even as a support, don't get the Baphomet if you don't have it already. If you already have it maxed or level 2. If you have 2 level 2s, consider dismantling them, get one to max, use another slot for another. Because ultimately this stat is very small. So you can also, for DPS, now the best armor card is, the best costume card is the Fancy Knight. Again, demi-human damage, 16% already on 2. So this one also gives 16% reduction once I max both of these regional music. Right. I backwear cards. You have enough PvP damage reduction. You can consider getting these. The Drake Puppet, which is P damage reduction. You have the GTB. This is GTB. You only need to you need 1 copy to get the best value out of it. That's 10% M damage reduction. For the Drake, you need to max it for 14% P damage reduction. But yeah, like deviling is not really that important if you're looking for it. Right. Again, I'm using deviling mainly because I don't want to take maximum damage. I'm trying to keep my PvP reduction within range, so that I can reduce a little bit even from the PvP damage layer. Right, Cat O' Nine Tails. Honestly, Cat O' Nine Tails, the reflect is very diminished when you have PvP ward or shield. If the person is not whale enough, if he doesn't hurt, your Cat O' Nine Tails does nothing as well because he can't hurt himself if he can't hurt you. Right? So, anyone else have questions? Yep, Abyss Demons are okay if you have them up 1-8 tier 10. Not only for this 2% damage, but for the each upgrade you also get P damage and M damage reduction. If not, it's better just to keep it in the collection for M damage reduction. Card deck, right? Bit and max HP. Max HP percent gives you the most. Bit gives you. There's a whole calculation around it that I don't want to get into, but on eco enchant tiers, max HP is better than Bit. Bit gives you not important PDEF, right? You add your VIT, you would notice your PDEF actually doesn't increase. Your equipment PDEF doesn't increase by VIT. For accessories, I think the stats is more important than the effect. Although the effects are really good, like I'm using this effect. Effect is really good. So I guess if you're not sacrificing, I think yellow is usable, like, because yellow is only lacking this. But I wouldn't waste your resets on it unless it's a very important match, like a do or die match. Then yeah, maybe you want to try and reset it. But yellow is usable just because the last tier is PvP stats and it's possible, very hard to get good ones anyway. So if you have like great M damage reduction or like P damage reduction, then you can already use them. Right? Support card decks. Support card decks. So I guess it depends on what you have. Like I have Halo Protection. Some people like to use Counter Attack. Right? Fortify is what you want to look out for. It's more, again, P damage and damage reduction. Halo Protection, Counter Attack, both gives you that. Guiding Light is really good. This gives you 10% size and race reduction for 4 seconds, and it's only a 12-second cooldown. It's not that bad. Keeps you alive long enough. Some of you might have maxed out Last Stand, which is fine. You can use it. Some of you already might have maxed out your Major Protection. That's great. Definitely use it. Some of you use Nature. Nature is fine if you're facing against certain classes like Sorcerers or even Genetics or whatever. But if you are going the Nature route, make sure you go all out. So you need Nature plus the Nebula, the first Nebula. You need Nature and this one, Nature and Phoenix. I'm not using Nature, so I'm not using, like, my Phoenix is level 2. So Nature and Phoenix, you wanna max those two out and use armor card, right? If you don't have any of these purple ones, you can just use Major Resolve plus Minor Protection plus Major Ward, right? 3 of these gives you 3.2% P damage and M damage reduction plus 3 stacks of Fortify. I think we covered basically everything. So yeah, I'll upload the slides and the recording. Those who miss the session or miss part of the session can look back. All right. Sigil recommendation. Non-red. Right, Divine Vessel. If you don't have this max, please, this should be your first priority to max out. Courage Blessing as well. Then then Floating Protection, and you can either use Surging Protection or Swift Breakout. Spell Barrier only works if the skill you're casting has an actual cast time. Right. I would use this. Or Floating Protection. Or Surging. Right. One thing that I forgot to mention as well is that remember the golden combo? Right? I forgot to actually add in Courage Blessing, because it's part of the entire combo as well. Right? When your HP is 70%, you're reducing your HP is above 70%, we are getting hit, the damage is reduced. It works with muscle block, it works with everything else. Orange choice. Oh, the chosen one. I was about to say who's using choice. Why is the support using choice of fate in PvP? I actually never looked at this. Is this any good? With RNG, I mean, move speed is great, damage reduction is great, and the HP restore is okay, but you have a 50% chance of getting useless stats. And it has a pretty long downtime, I think. So I would rather just use something that is more permanent. Even Swift Breakout, I think is better. Moving for 2 seconds is like, you should be moving, right? Yep, Nightingale. As a support, I will use Vidar's Heal. Maybe this is okay, not the worst. Phase Radiance, but I personally just want to survive, so I use Vidar's Heal, and I'm trying to get 4 Crest of Melody, 6% for the 4 to 6% size reduction. Get from you can maintain 4 to 6 at all time. Just can't get more than that. For Soul Force, it's a preference thing, right? And also, I guess you want to communicate with your party. Like, maybe 4 water, 4 Abyss Imprison's a bit overkill, so you can go for like 3 Abyss Imprison plus 1 Wind. The Wind user can use anti-petrify one or the M damage increase one, which is fine. But honestly, this is a preference thing. I've seen people use Earth as well. Personally, for me, this is a very preferential thing. I don't think there's no right or wrong answer. My Nebula is... I think support Nebulas are very easy to build, just because you have so much extra stats. I just make sure to max out the important ones. Equilis, Ursa Minor, all the support stuff. I add Hydras so that I can help my DPS stop enemies healing. Why this is maxed out. Right? Performers can consider doing this as well to help your DPS kill. Yeah, I max like support Nebula is just so easy to build. Just max out everything defensive and get some value points here and there. I got one for Doran, one for RK. Very easy. Very building DPS is harder for Nebula because you have to balance out survivability versus damage. Of course, you have extra skill points. I went a lot of extra levels in stuff that you usually don't go. Yeah, usually I don't even add these PDF and MDEF. Yes. I don't know if there's. I guess there are Dorams here since. Yeah, Dorams you can use costumes since you're majority of the time you are inside somebody and you don't want to get out. So you don't really need too much survivability or costumes. You can consider using things like this Eternal Judicator. You buff team. This is you can only use this when support skills. But yeah, like support costumes that gives team buffs like 4 reduction for entire team. This is actually great on supports as well. As heal, you get 25% P reduction for 6 seconds. Hazelnut obviously still better, but this is a team wide. Oh, this is you, sorry. But the top one you reduce P damage and damage reduction. Right, same thing with there's a lot of different costumes that debuffs enemies can consider using. Boost speed to your team as a Doram, great. Sumis gives your team 12% P damage, M damage reduction. Bonus. So, DPS go room. One for costume as well. I don't forget what. Yeah, you can use Moonbright on a Doram because it also heals your party. Ho ho. Great. And it stacks. You heal and the priest heals get a lot of AoE. Bad, not it's so hard to maintain. Did I miss out anything? I think I covered most of it. Oh, pets. Pets. You don't have any S pets, you can just use Earth Lord, Child of Earth, Nemesis tier 1, even tier 0, and Bulldog. Bulldog. Bulldog gives you 20% of your max HP. That's a lot. Alright. Fucking Bulldog gives you 20% of your max HP. If you're a cookie, that gives you like 1 million total in terms of shield. And when there's the shield, you get status effect resistance. So if you're running, so you can even run a stun resist build with this as long as your fucking Bulldog doesn't die. I have the pact yet, unfortunately. Can be stun immune for like 4 seconds. And when the Bulldog dies, it heals, so great. Or overloads, I guess everybody does. You can just pick your P damage and damage reduction. Or you have to buy them early, they always seem to be out. You need them. Buy them right now. Buy any? Sold out. Yes. We'll see where you guys are at the end of the week. There's gonna be another evaluation, and hope to see improvement. Helder has the list for the test with you guys. There should be no excuses after this session. Yes. Personally, I use, now that I'm genetic, I will remove the Hell Essence, but if you're not, you can use the Hell Essence and the Mandragora Potion. Panacea, you need to have that as well. This is the preset. I also put in these things you get from the cooking, whatever they're called. These heal 20% max HP. This also heals 20% max HP. They have independent cooldowns, so you can alternate using them. Along with, once you have these two plus the Mandragora Potion, you actually should not run out of SP ever. So for those who don't have these, you can make them at the next event. Takes about 3 million to buy out all the Zenny ones. As yeah, beach party.
You can still make it now.
Yeah. Oh, you can still make it now. Yes, you can just buy the Zenny ones. Yeah, I've already bought them out. It's roughly 3 million Zenny to max used to buy all of them. You can only make 42 here. So 42 times 30. Oh, fine, whatever. These don't expire. Oh, they do expire. Fuck. It's fine. You can save the tickets actually. Can't do math when streaming. Alright, there's nothing else. I think it's a good session. Thanks everyone for you guys learned something. If there's any questions, feel free to message me or just like you need help. Alright guys, everyone.